I'm going to move on to the idea of getting paid for your work. I'm calling this the coin of the realm. So go back to your high school history. You remember that before we had centralized governments, we had the feudal system, which was every king, every realm had its own mint, its own coins, and you were expected to pay your taxes and do your commerce in the coin of the realm. But I'm here to suggest that each of you has a coin of your own realm. The pay package that you desire is a little different. So some of you participated in the survey that we did to get this started. We didn't get, I think we got about 20 responses, so it's not a statistically valid survey, but it is kind of interesting. So we asked, what are your top priorities for your career? Interestingly, making money was the least often cited of, not making money, but making a ton of money was not the main priority. Growing personal knowledge and capability, having good work-life balance, working for a great company. Those were the ones that you people listed as your top priority. And I would say that that's probably not far off if we were able to do a national survey. Then we looked at, okay, that was your highest priority. What's your second priority for your job? So interestingly, making a lot of money came in pretty strong as a second tier priority. We do need to work, we need to eat. But interestingly, doing work that benefits society, working for a great company, growing your personal knowledge, and having work-life balance were also pretty strong second-tier choices. What struck me about this is that the lowest choice here was winning awards and getting professional recognition, which is different. When I came out of school, I wanted to kill it. I wanted a New York Art Directors Club gold medal. I wanted to be in AIGA 50 books. I wanted all of them. Different now, that's fine. Knowing the coin of your own realm is where it's at. So we asked you, what do you think the employers that you're going to be calling on are interested in? The responses that we got are, your analytical skill, your problem solving, your portfolio quality, and dependability. But in actuality, the small number of employers that we were able to survey came up with these ones on the bottom. They want people that are not going to stand up against the grain, that are going to be likable, congenial, good team players, that are organized in both their creative and their administrative duties, because you will have both, and who can take a brief and work independently without kind of wandering off track. They're assuming that portfolio quality is kind of a given, and that they can probably train you to improve design skills. So this is very interesting that there's not much alignment here. The important thing is not what does everybody else think, but what's the coin of your realm? Is it about making money? Is it awards? I'm going to suggest that you think about this as a plan, that you look at, you set some priorities, what things are important to you, and actually make a coin of the realm plan for yourself. Could be 5 years, could be 10 years. There's a ton of books on the internet on how to make a 10-year plan. The important thing is keep it really simple. Look at it at least every month, maybe every week. It's okay, it's going to change. That's not a reason not to do the plan. There's something really powerful about writing it down in a notebook and revisiting it. When my wife and I were first married, we had travel plans, and we thought, gosh, we'll never be able to afford to do all of this, but we made a list and did one each year, one place that we'd try to visit. And I don't know where the money came from, I don't know where the will came from, but it came to fruition in part because we had made a plan. So I offer this as, if you do this and you stay with it for 10 years, you will be among the top 5% of your professional class. Not very many people do this. People don't, this is an old saying, people don't plan to fail, they just fail to plan. Now, planning is a two-edged sword. This gentleman said this often quoted truism that no battle plan ever survived first contact with the enemy. Well, he's not saying don't plan, he's just saying be prepared for it to fall apart on you or to change as you work. Now I'm going to introduce you to a wonderful man. James Craig was the art director for Watson Guptill at the time that I went to New York. Watson Guptill publishes design books and kind of nice quality visual books. He sort of took me under his wing because he realized that I was interested in designing books. Not everybody is. Working in book publishing at that time especially was kind of an oath of voluntary poverty. Pay was terrible. You did it because you loved books. He made this comment that the opportunities to do great design don't come along every day. And in fact, it's not your job to really do great. If you throw yourself at every project thinking that you're going to do a great design, you will dash yourself to pieces. You can't do great design on every last thing somebody hands you. So the interesting thing that he suggested was get good enough that you can do sensible, orderly design quickly, not stay up late for it. Develop a professionalism that allows you to survey the incoming opportunities and say, that one looks like I could go all in on it and really do something great. You don't do that on every one. I think he wrote 22 books. Many of them still very worth reading about typography, about production. He practiced what he preached. Every now and then he did one that just hit the cover off the ball. Most of them were orderly, readable, on budget, sensible. Every now and then he did one where he really cut loose. And so out of my conversation with him, this is not actually his list, but I kind of extracted from our conversation this idea that as you're looking at the workflow that comes, because we all have a certain number of opportunities that come to us just through friends, through, stuff falls out of the sky, in addition to having a job or in addition to having a freelance career. Sometimes you'll see an opportunity and you'll say, not for me. Somebody else will pick that up and do something unbelievable. And you'll say, why didn't I see that? How did I miss that potential in that stupid project? He suggested, and I kind of codified, this idea that there's a recipe that you can be looking for as you're doing your good quality, sensible work, that you want to have just enough time, but a real deadline. You want to have enough money. Doesn't have to be a fabulous budget, but enough to give you a little running room. You want to have a receptive client. You cannot do great design, even good design. You cannot do great design without a customer that wants it, that is willing to go out on a limb with you. So it behooves us, if we see something that could be really cool, just makes your receptors light up. It behooves us to have that conversation with the customer early on and say, this is something I could really get into. I could go the extra mile with you on this, really make this fabulous. How do you feel about that? Take their temperature on it. If they say, I don't think so, take them at their word. But if they say, yeah, tell me what you need. Then the last thing is a subject that hooks your interest, something that you personally say, I'm excited about publicizing that or writing about it or visualizing it. So that's kind of James Craig's recipe. It's been endlessly useful for me in sorting through the flood of opportunity. And the great part about it is if you have a professional network, you see something that doesn't fit the coin of your realm, you'll start to say, this would be a great Charlotte project. And so you call up Charlotte and say, I just heard about this thing, you might want to look at it. And the beauty of that is that then things start to bounce back your way when you are willing to share that opportunity with other people. We heard from Fred Schneider earlier, but I wanted to share this with you because I think it's a really important concept at early stage career. That when you're young, you're not just looking for a job, you're looking to hire a good boss. You're looking for somebody that's willing to invest in you. And if you think about it from the other side of the table, the people that have experience and have more work than they can handle, they need you too. And I think it's important never to forget this, that people, one of the things that people lamented in our survey was they didn't feel like they had enough experience. You didn't feel like you had enough experience to get hired. Don't let them tell you you're not experienced enough. You have something they need. You have youth and energy. You know the good music. You get to be 40 years old, you don't know what the good music anymore. You're stuck in the past. You are tuned into where the world is. They can't get that anywhere else. They got to have you. So what he was proposing here is there's kind of this idea of a bargain, that you trade your youth for experience, and you need somebody that buys into that bargain. Fred came to my office once and apologized. He said, I'm sorry I'm loading you up with all this production work. I know you're supposed to be a designer, but I'll make it up to you. I'm looking for something to really light up your interest. And he made good on that promise. I was at Oxford University Press, which published its first book 500 years ago. And he was on his way out of town to go on vacation for 2 weeks, and he got this message from his boss in the UK. We got to do a new brand for our 500th anniversary of publishing, and we got to have it pretty fast. So he's on his way out. He's got his his swim trunks packed, and he tosses this on my desk. He says, "See what you can do with this." So this became, more than anything, the launching pad for my freelance career. This was kind of big news. I do know of one other graphic designer that has a 500th anniversary logo in their portfolio, but there are not that many of us. It was a pretty big deal. Got a lot of publicity. Got a lot of ink. So I guess all I'm saying is that you're looking for a boss that buys into that bargain. You're not only looking for somebody that'll pay you and maybe has a nice office, but there's a way to have that conversation early on. Ideally, you're calling on places that you'd really like to work. You've looked at what their output is. It's easier now than it's ever been to go on the website and say, well, what's their work look like? Is it schlock, or is it pretty interesting, or is it off the charts? So ideally, what speaks to you is where you're going to go looking for work if you can. It's pretty powerful to come into somebody and say, your work just floors me. I'd kill to work here. I love your work. Make that figurative, not literal, of course. So I'm sort of ranging all over the design profession here. I was fortunate to hear Bucky Fuller speak when I was still in college. He was an architect, he was a writer, he was a poet. He held an endowed chair at Harvard in poetry. He was an engineer, he was a map maker, mathematician. He was kind of controversial. One of the things he said that has stayed with me is, he was all about utility. He was interested in solving problems. He said, I never set out to design something beautiful, but if it's not beautiful, I know I'm not done yet. And that there's something kind of deep there, I think, that if you just go straight for making things look great, you often miss the opportunity to do something that really works. You have to go at the utility and refine it and improve it. Especially, anybody that's here in UX, you know that you can make something look good, but if it's hard to use, people are going to bail out. So if you know Bucky Fuller's name at all, you probably associate him with the geodesic dome. That was one of his many accomplishments. He didn't actually invent it, but he made it practical and he championed it. But he also, a little closer to home for us, created what he called the Dymaxion map of the world. He was really interested in utilizing the world's resources to make everybody get their share. This is one of the reasons why he was controversial. He hated governments. He liked the idea of sharing resources and optimizing. So he created this map that has the endearing characteristic of being all the continents are roughly in the same scale as real, and you look at it as one big landmass. So one of the other things he said that I think is really good for us, both as a career planning idea and as a design idea, is if you don't have enough information to make a good long-range plan, take the information you do have and make it easier to understand, make it more visual. That's what he did with his map, and he did it in a lot of other ways. So I'll give you an example again from my friends in Indonesia. They gave me a project, and then we got all kinds of conflicting advice from different people in the organization on what was wanted. And so rather than make 100 layouts to try to satisfy everybody, we started by just taking what information they had that they could agree on. So this is what's called a sand key diagram. It's sources, processes, and end states. This was looking at where does the energy in Indonesia get used? Where does it come from? How does it get used? Where does it end up? And so from that research, we were able to glean some other data that compared them to other economies. Because if you've got, they're looking for roughly $500 billion worth of infrastructure investment. They need to build out. They've got tons of resources. They've got a big population that's just cash poor. They need to grow their infrastructure. So if you're an investor, what makes you think that you're going to get paid back by investing in Indonesia? That's the question we started to answer there. And so the form of that and the visual idea grew into a package, almost 750 pages worth of data. But it was very successful from the investor relations side, but also won a ton of awards. And that was great for them because it gave them visibility outside of their normal sphere. So when you do something and it gets publicity, it wins awards, or it gets written up, make the customer the star. Don't say, look at me, I won this award. Your payoff is much bigger by making the customer the award winner. This is all the people in the investor relations department that worked on that, receiving their award. This was at the Westin in Paris. They won a international Stevie Award for this. I didn't go, but I didn't really want to be on the podium with them because this was their moment. But I just offered that as a sort of a customer relations concept. Okay, so we've looked at big picture, kind of the quest, the money. What can we do here that really you can leave here with and use?